what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Man to Man podcast. We are back, we are live, and we are excited about what God has for us today. Again, welcome to the Man to Man podcast. My name is James Howard Jr., and this is your other host,
Rap Peters. What's going on, y'all?
and we are excited to just be here. The Man to Man podcast is all about helping men honor God in every single part of their lives. And for the last few months, really, even though we ain't really been on here, for the last couple of months, we've been going through the book, The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman, this book right here. Um, if you haven't purchased this book, I actually throw a description. A link down in the description later on in the live stream or whatever. And so we've been going through this, man. It's been good. It's been challenging. It's been wonderful. It's been refreshing and reminding us of our call as husbands to love our wives. That's what this podcast is about, ladies. Of course, there's plenty of stuff in there for you.
Yes,
But this podcast is about helping us just become better husbands, better dads, and all that. Men's is so. We gonna dive into that, but before we get started, man, how you been doing, dude? It's been like the whole 2 months, like almost really.
You said it best. We here. We here. I'm here. You know, I got an 8-month-old now. Well, she'll be 8 months, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So she's cutting teeth. So the teething process, man, you start over. You get, to the point where they going to sleep, at least for most of the night. Then they start cutting teeth, and you throw all that out the window. So
reset everything, man.
Yeah, it's felt like life has felt like a reset. So, but God is good all the time, and all the time God is good, and we here. We ain't going nowhere. So, yeah, it's been good. What about you, bro?
Man, we've been good, man. A lot of good stuff going on at the church. Family's good. Everybody's healthy. Things ain't perfect, but our God is, man. So we just grateful for that. And so just excited about it. Ain't got no baby cutting teeth, anything. But I do have one that thinks she grown, and that's always fun to navigate and have fun with, man. And so but yeah, man, we're good, man. Excited about what we got for today. Excited, honestly, man, about the holiday seasons coming up and all that kind of stuff. Thanksgiving, Christmas. I would say, man, I was thinking this morning, dude, like we almost a year in now with doing this. I think so. November. I think one of our first podcasts we was talking about thankfulness. We talk about thankfulness, and we were talking about the cranberry sauce that the church made for you and all that kind of stuff, man.
Miss Nancy left.
Like we trying to be consistent with this thing, man. And we've been here. We've been doing it when we can, right? And so almost a year, dude, with us being consistent with this. I'm pretty excited about that.
I mean, that is, before we even get into 5 love languages, I think that's a point of just the reality of walking with Jesus as a man and just as any person as a disciple. It won't be perfect, but keep showing up. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the thing that we can look back to and say, with men to men, even if you don't get those shorts every day, 3 day, you getting something at some point, we ain't went nowhere. We still just as committed as we were. It's just the ebbs and flows of life. You have high seasons, you have low seasons, I feel like every season is busy as a pastor, but you got slow seasons. You do have slow seasons, but that's a part of life. So
slow seasons, they come and go fast.
They come and go super fast. You like, was this a slow season? What was this?
What was that? Was that a slow season? No, no. Again, we're excited that you are here. And if you're watching this on the replay or listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, we like to thank you so much for your support and for listening and doing what you do. We're up now to 403 subscribers on YouTube, bro. Did you see that, man? That's crazy to me. And so our prayer is that we can continue to serve everybody, men and women who are listening to this, man, so that we can help each other just become better. All right, man. So let's have
400. Shout out to y'all. Look, that's amazing.
It's big. It's better than zero. At
Hey,
least,
somebody
at least
watch.
people listening, right? And so, man, I'm excited about this book, right? Even though it's been crazy, we trying to get everything together, man. It's this is just a continual reminder of who we are called to be as men. Of course, like I said, this book is not written just for men,
Yeah.
but that's the approach and that's the angle that we're taking. And today we're going to be talking about the love language of acts of service. And so when we talk about acts of service, we're literally talking about doing things for your wife, right?
Yeah.
Doing
Yeah.
house, doing things that are significant, helping and doing all that kind of stuff. And if your wife's love language is this, man, I would say this is one of the easiest and most difficult ones at the same.
Go ahead. Yeah. Bring the balance
You
out.
know,
It's easy, but it's
I really
hard.
think so, right? The
Yeah.
the concept of it when you read the chapter, it's just like, oh yeah, you just do the dishes instead of letting her do the dishes. You change a diaper instead of letting her change a diaper. You make sure the car has gas in it and that it's working, so she doesn't have to worry about it. All those things are simple to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
but it takes effort, right? It takes intentionality. And as men, I think one thing that this book points out, we can fall into this idea of what the culture says
Mm,
we should be at the house, right? The
yeah.
culture says we should be like, Prince Hakeem, right? We just walk around, our wife throwing rose petals on the floor for us, hand and knee for us, and just being the one who always is cooking and being the one
Yeah.
who's always cleaning and being the one who always does that. Our culture has shifted a little bit, right? But traditionally, that's what it was seen as, right? The
Yeah.
man is the king, the wife is really the servant, right? Is the one who does all the hard labor around the house. But we know that's not true, right?
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
know it's not how life works. And that's how life it just ain't. You can try that if you want to, fellas.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying your marriage might not last as long as
That's
you want it to,
that's
if you don't have
factual.
a mind of a servant,
Yeah.
man.
Hey,
Um,
when you, I mean, let's just, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off right there,
no, go
but
ahead. Go ahead.
you said something that, I don't know, depending on who you are, and I guess the lens in which you view it would determine, your answer to the question. And I think, has our culture changed? Has our culture shifted? I think when we think about women and the ways in which they view their role at the house, that I think definitely has shifted, especially as we're in the
Yeah.
election season. So, a lot of women's rights are kind of coming to the forefront. I think women kind of feel more empowered, more educated. Heck, Kamala Harris, is about to be, she's on the, she's in the race.
She right there, man.
She might be our next president, and
Right.
that's saying a lot for women. And when you think about the traditional roles, but the reason why I asked the question, bro, is because I've been looking at how men think about the ways in which women should show up, and even some of the cultural trends. So now you've got what's really big now is a man having more than one woman, and part of the trend of this reality of not being monogamous, which I guess we're just gonna go there,
Yeah.
is this reality of one not being enough to give you all your needs, and one not being the one to do all the things. You need to bring in others to get those things. And it's like, I feel like men are trying to overcompensate for the lack that they feel that they might be getting
Mm.
in the home, which might say to, just the person thinking on the outside or looking from the outside, that maybe those roles, like men want women in those traditional roles in some sense, and they haven't been able to get out of that mode. And so now it's like, well, because I can't get this and that, I'm gonna get
Right.
it from multiple. And I'm only saying that to just the argument of like, has things changed, or has it shifted in a way now for men where it's like, instead of them realizing the reality of what we're talking about, acts of service, meaning you're actually the servant and not just the one being served. I think we're arguing for men to actually serve their wives
Right.
and to place themselves in some ways in the position of the one who's called to serve the home. And so like that's traditionally kind of been seen as the woman, but no, we have a call too as well. And I think we've got to push back against the culture in the sense of like, nah, like our wife hadn't been called to do everything for us. Our wife is not supposed to meet every need, especially like as we talk about, you know, what's going on at the house and the pleasure piece, what we desire from them. Nah, she ain't been called to that. Like, but if we live into like where culture is, you know, it might be like, hey, this is what the woman is supposed to do. And if the woman is not doing her job, it's okay. We just gonna go get another one. And it's like, no, that's problematic too. But that's kind of where we are. And I mean, even like in, you know, the Christian arena, you know what I mean? I think that that's an unfortunate reality of what we see. And men may not outwardly say, I have a side piece or I have another wife, because they know it's wrong, but they've already created that relationship. They've already stepped out of their fidelity to their wives because their wives haven't met the traditional needs. As a pastor, as I'm engaging with a lot of these men, the one thing that they usually say is the problem is she not doing what she's supposed to at the house. Hold up, brother. What do you mean? What do you mean? What is she? You tell me, what is she supposed to do? And then they go through this long laundry list of traditional things that they think that the woman is like, she's supposed to do everything that I tell her. And I'm like, nah, I think you're missing the point. And I think going to the book now, making the shift at the start of the book, he does a great job of talking about the model that we have in Jesus.
Right.
And I think that that is the model that we're trying to push men to. Before you are served, you should first serve. And actually, the greatest of these is actually a servant, not the other way around.
Right.
But we've got it twisted in marriage where the man thinks we should, like you said, Prince Hakeem, you know what I mean? If I tell you to bark, you should bark. And it's like, nah, that's problematic, dog. But I thought about that when you were talking, because I'm just like, man, I just don't know. The culture has shifted, but I don't know if it's shifted from the standpoint of everybody being in agreement that the woman should have these traditional roles. I think the woman has said, I realize that I have more value. I bring more to the table than just being a housemaker.
Right.
And I think that's true. But I don't know if we're talking to men in this podcast, I don't know if men have reconciled that. I think that's the thing that I'm trying to get at. I don't know if men have reconciled that reality. What they've done is they've tried to overcompensate. And because of these desires that are within that James talks about, they, you know, now are going to other women to get some of these needs or voids that they have. I don't know, bro. What do you think about all of that? That's a lot. What do you think?
No. I said one thing. It's simple in my mind, right? Yeah. It all boils down to selfishness, right? It all boils down to the fact of, as men, right? We want our flesh satisfied in whatever way that looks, right? It isn't necessarily have to be sexually, right? But as far as our egos, as far as our insecurities, as far as all of that stuff, it plays into the selfishness that we want our wives to fix, right? That we want our wives this maybe some trauma, maybe some the way we grew up, some messed up ideology that we have in our head that we want our wife to fix. And it's not their job to do that, right? As a wife, we're partnered together as a couple, you know, to honor God with each other and to honor each other and to serve each other at the end of the day. That's what it's all about. And the book talks about, it tells a story. I don't remember the names. They're fake names anyway in the book, but about a man and a wife who go to Gary, the author of this book. And you know, they start off the conversation like, you're a counselor, right? And so they go to solve this issue that they've been having in their marriage. And they when they got down to it, the issue was just selfishness on both ends, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The man was frustrated because he would come home, the house would be dirty, the kids would be dirty, dishes aren't clean and stuff like that. And he was just like, why isn't this stuff done? Right.
Right. Right.
And then the wife would get mad at him for going hunting and fishing and doing all this kind of stuff. And the questions were asked like, what do you guys expect from each other? And the interesting perspective that I looked at, that I focused in on, was how the guy, uh, while they were dating, he did a lot of things that weren't like a traditional
Oh, wow.
like marriage thing, right? It wasn't. He would go over her house and really court her, right? Go to her parents' house, eat dinner with the parents. He would help her do the dishes. He would help her with the projects. I think they got married out of high school, and so like he spent a lot of time over there. He spent a lot of time serving her, right? That was his game. That was his riz, as the kids would say, right? That he got her. That's what hooked her, was
Yeah.
that he was such a sweet and gentle and caring man, and she had never experienced that before. All the other guys just wanted sex. They just were jerks. They were all about themselves and what they got, and if they didn't get what they got, they left, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, he was different because he served me, right? Those are not her words, but that's what it was. He was able to get in there because he served her, and he treated her as someone who was significant. But then the issue came when they got married. Things flipped because his mindset went from, well, I got the girl now, right? Let's do this thing like my parents used to do this thing. You stay home, you do the dishes, you. I go work, I bring in the money, I do this and stuff like that. And she just told him, it's like, when they went through the counseling, she was just like, you became a different person. You stopped serving me. And in this particular marriage, right, both of their love language were acts of service. And he started to say the same thing. Well, you used to do this, you used to do that, you used to do this, and you don't do it anymore. I feel appreciated when I come home and dinner's at least cooking, right? I feel appreciated stuff. And so, they went back and forth. You can read through the chapter once you purchase the book. And they kind of came to this somewhat middle ground. We just are really here to serve each other. And when they stop thinking about, hey, how can I get all that I need out of this relationship and out of this marriage, and how can I start serving my wife or serving my husband, that's when things started to shift. And I think that's the case for a lot of us, even if we aren't fussing about who doing what, right? Our goal, and we talked about this on the podcast before, is to outserve our wives, right? Outserve our spouse, because like everybody wins. Nobody loses when that's the focus, right? Nobody loses when our goal is to serve the other person more than they serve me, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like if we aren't focused on that, it's all about selfishness. It's all about us, and we have to shift our minds to be like, hey, it has to be about serving them or serving the kids and stuff like that, man. So
what you're saying, man, it just shows the importance of counting the cost every day. Like if you don't count the cost, there's no way that you're going to come to the table and say, I'm willingly giving myself up today. Because like at some point you forget that it's not about you, and you then transition reverse card. Let me make it about me now. And I mean, honestly, it makes me think of how it's easy to be inconvenienced for a season. Like it's easy to be selfless for a season. So similar to their story was my story marrying Tiara, my wife. She was like, when we started dating, you did all of these things. You took me out. You opened my door. You sent me little letters. You did all of these things that just filled my love tank and was over and beyond. And then when we got married, you got complacent, you got content, you got comfortable, and you stopped doing those things. You slowly stopped opening my door because it had to open doors for kids. You stopped, dating me, all of these different things. You stopped, washing dishes because they weren't my dishes. They were her dishes. Now it's our dishes. It's all these different realities. And I think when we were dating, it was easy. Now we got a lifetime of commitment together. And God is calling me to die every day. And even I think, it's like, well, yeah, why am I surprised? Because even in the vows that we made to one another, those were vows of dying to myself. And how often, we talked about this before, how often do we just literally forget the vows that we made on our wedding day?
Right.
And the wedding day for us, if we're honest, is just this beautiful celebration, but it's not a reality of what we're entering into. It's a one-time celebration, but it's not a one-time deal. Like this is just the beginning. This is showing us what it's going to look like for the rest of our lives. Like these are more than just words if we want this marriage to last. And I think that's the thing that we tend to forget, is that we are called as men to live as Christ. And what did Christ do? He outserved his bride. And that is what he died for his bride.
Right.
And so, a lot of men might be watching this, as you probably watched other podcasts that we've done, and said, does it require all of that? Do I have to do all of that? And the answer, unfortunately, my brothers, is a resounding yes.
Yeah.
But that yes comes with, didn't Christ do that for you?
Yeah.
Like, please let that reality be what move you. I think too often the reality that moves us is like, we tend to think that it's just our job in loving our wife, or it's just something that we should do as husbands. No, it's a functionary thing that you're called to do, or a responsibility that you're given. There's a reality of what has been done for you on your behalf that should actually give you this overwhelming desire to want to do it for somebody else. And so if we were just to uncover the layers, bro, I think what we would realize is that the gospel hadn't really sunk deep into our hearts. And maybe the reason why we're deficient in our serving is because we're deficient in our reception of the gospel. And we need to be reminded of what Christ has done to move us. And I'm convicted as I hear that, because I'm like, man, how many days have I woken up, have gotten out of bed, and the grace that has hit me that's new and fresh, the mercy that's hit me that's new and fresh every morning, not be as good as it should be. When I came to faith, I went from death to life. Not only that, the reality of those of faith is that there is a God who is keeping us alive, sustaining us. So he didn't just save us, but he's keeping us. And that right there is a reality that far too many times is not as good as it should be. So I think that, brothers, the reality might be for you, the reason why you're not serving your wife is because you haven't allowed Christ to serve you, and the gospel to really be on your hearts and minds. Because if it was, like the woman at the well, when she encountered Jesus, bro, her whole life changed. The things that she did changed. And when we encounter Jesus, it should change not just this internal reality, but what we do, how we serve our wives. Let me just call myself out there. If you feel like, this is just us calling you out, like, far too often as a pastor, it's easy to serve the members of the church and the people in the community than it is to serve my family. And I see my family every day. I don't see members of the church and the people in the community every day. And I think too often we've gotten too comfortable or content. It's like, we'll do the easy thing. God is calling us to the hard thing every single day. And maybe the hardest thing that he's calling you to is to love and serve the person that you see every day. So count the cost. Because that is it. I'm sorry, bro.
That's good. Because, man, like I even have in the notes for what we're gonna talk about today, man. It's this idea of choosing to die to yourself, right? In the book, he's doing this counseling session with this couple, and they give the list of stuff, And of course, he encourages them to reword how they say it, right? But he tells each one of them after they present this list of things that they, if the spouse did it, they would feel loved. And he tells them, like, hey Billy, if you make these decisions and to serve her in this way, you can expect her to feel more love. And then, hey Susan, if you choose to serve or do these things that your husband says helps them to feel more love, then you can expect that the relationship is going to get better, right? And it's a constant choice. It's a constant choice, right?
Yeah.
And because here's the thing, like, it's going to be days where you don't feel like doing certain things, right? Well, you don't feel like doing this, you don't feel like helping, you don't feel like serving, you don't feel like washing the dishes, you don't feel like whatever, right? And you can easily slide into this mindset of, this is not my responsibility. She's supposed to fold these clothes, she's supposed to do these dishes, she's supposed to cook, it's her night to cook, why am I cooking, right? But instead of that type of mentality, looking for the opportunities to serve and to just simply let them know, like, hey, I was thinking about you. One thing, man, that gets me, like, every single time, man, I hate doing dishes. I don't, right?
Yeah.
But my wife and I, we talked about this before we got married, who's gonna do what in the house, right? And it shifted over the years. And of course, just because it's my job doesn't mean that she doesn't help sometimes. And just because it's her job doesn't mean that I don't touch it or I don't help. But one thing for me, I hate doing dishes. I don't care how many in there. Like last night, like I sorry, I don't want to do these dishes, right? But one thing that gets me is when I walk up in that kitchen and them dishes are not in the dishwasher, and that dishwasher just as empty as it want to be, ready for the dirty dishes. Boy, I can kiss you in the mouth, right? Like, it's a big wet one, because, like, I don't know what it is. It does something to my soul, bro. I just did something to my soul to have to get them dishes out of that dishwasher and put them in the 50 million different cabinets that we have, right? Like, why we got so many forks? Why we got so many bowls and all this kind of stuff? I'll be fussing, right?
Yeah.
But every once in a while, man, she'll do that, and her and baby girl, they'll just put them away, and I feel love, right? Because most of the times, as we are, just the way our life is set up right now, I'm doing the dishes once everybody sleep, everybody to bed, or at least settled, right? And so most of the time when I'm doing dishes, I'm tired, right? We both work full time, we both tired, and I know she work hard, right? And so for the simple fact that she takes time out whenever she does it to put those things away, I'm just like, man, I know she had a crazy day, but these dishes put away. Golly, man, that just shows that she loves me, right? She cares about me, that she thought about, even though in the midst of her crazy days, she decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna help him out. I know I had a crazy day today, but I'm gonna help him out a little bit. And then I try to find opportunities to do that as much as I can. And it's this it's like a competition of hey, who can show the most love, right?
That's what it should be.
It's just a good place to be. It's just a good mindset to have in a marriage, for sure.
That's, man, as you're talking, I think what I was thinking about is there's another side of the being inconvenienced. Like, it's easy to be inconvenienced for a season, and maybe sometimes the thought is to do this for a lifetime is incredibly hard, which is true. There's that reality of it being hard, and maybe the reason why a lot of guys don't do it. But the other side of the coin is that when you do make the choice and you sacrifice and you decide to be selfless and to serve your wife, the reality of what you receive is so much greater than what you would have received if you didn't do it. And so it's like, just make I promise you may not feel like doing it right now, but when you do it, there's something far greater than what you feel or what you think that you'll receive on the other side of your service, which is why you should just take the step. It's not something that you're going to always want to do, but just do it. And when you do it, man, the Lord meets you. It's something about it. And, I think, we could attest to that in a lot of different ways. Like, you talk about working out and you say, man, like, you just don't feel like working out. But when you just do it, over time, you're like, man, I feel good. And I wouldn't have felt this way. Man, I'm starting to see results. Man, I'm starting to, look a little better. I'm fitting these clothes, and it's just like there's a reality of something far greater if you just make that choice. Like you said, it is a choice, and it's a worthy one. And it's one, if you just make the choice to do it, that you'll realize is just it's better than what you could have expected, better than what you could have hoped or dreamed. And so the encouragement is to do it. And I think that's what I was thinking about the other night. Actually, there was an opportunity for me. It was not just something that the Lord was calling me to do and my wife was calling me to do. I think for me sometimes, and this is taking it a step further, sometimes it's not like an actual task that we're called to do, but even how we show up. So at the beginning, he's talking about doing it with the right heart. I think just engaging with a certain presence sometimes is a choice. And when you make that choice, you're like, I don't feel like I'm tired. I want people to see I'm tired. I don't want them to feel like I'm always on go. But I think sometimes it's like you got a stank attitude, and no matter how tired you are, you don't have to have a stank attitude.
Right. I'm gonna put these dishes away, but I'm finna click and clap
every dish. Loud. Yeah.
Every single. I'm gonna slam the drawers because I need you to know that I ain't really want to put up these dishes, but I'm doing this for you.
We tired. Yeah. We both tired.
Both tired.
I know. I'm tired. I'm more tired though. Let me just
right. Yeah. It's like
we ain't gotta have that.
It becomes this competition. Yeah, it becomes a competition that's just like not healthy, right?
Yeah.
So my dad, he said, FYI, let me see.
So
I'm down for doing dishes. I know. It's because I don't. He doesn't like when people say the work word because he's retired. He says it's called cussing if you talk about working. So work. They're gonna edit it out.
Hey, but it's like I think. Yeah, we say this a lot at our church, trying to reframe. And really, I think this is really in counseling. You reframe certain things. It's not I have to do. It's I get to do. And when you start reframing it, it feels less like work. It's like, like I get to serve my wife, who's a gift that the Lord has given me. Or, I get to be an example of, I get to be the hands and feet of Jesus in this moment. And I get to shower my family with the word of God in a practical, tangible way. So it's not just what I'm saying, it's what I'm doing. That's a part of the life that we're called to live. It's not just what we believe as far as a formation of beliefs and thoughts, but how those beliefs actually manifest into actions and what we do. And so I get the opportunity. And honestly, the thing that I was getting to before was there was that time realizing that I was at that place with the stank attitude. And I literally in that moment was like, I got a stank attitude. God, I need your help like right now to allow me to not have this stank attitude. And it is even work trying to get there, but there's a reality of my need. And I'm going to God because I need something from him that I just don't have in myself. And the Lord was sweet, like met me. And then it was like the next day after I, went to bed, got rest, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm good now. I was tired, but that little bit that I needed to finish the day, I wasn't going to get on my own. And just being in that stank attitude, there was a moment of like literally having to posture myself and say, let me stop, realize what's going on, ask for the Lord's help, and then let me move forward, believing that he's with me. And sometimes that feeling don't automatically go. It's like, okay, I got Lord, you are with me. So I don't have to, I feel the urge to respond this way. The beauty of the resurrection is that I have the power to not have to give into those urges. Right. I don't have to submit to that urge. God, you've given me, if the same power that rose Jesus from the grave lives in me, that is the same power that is giving me the ability to not submit to this urge because it's present with me right now. So,
but that'll preach in a whole bunch of different situations.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole. I see it. But I'm not gonna go down that one. No. Because I want to get practical real quick. So, like we talked about concepts, right? So let's get practical and it may be something we just got to stop and think about a little bit, right? Because I wasn't planning on actually talking about this, but
Yeah.
in the book, it talks about the difference between requests over demands. So the idea, right, is if this is a love language, because here's the thing. Here's the thing about acts of service. I think that even if it isn't your wife's or your husband's actual love language, you can't go wrong with serving them, right? What your wife
Right.
gonna do? They're gonna get mad. Like, I wanted to wash them dishes. I wanted to fold them clothes, right?
That was my
I
job.
wanted to wash the car. I wanted to mow the lawn. I wanted to take the kids to the store. I wanted to do that. Why you do that? No, right?
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
can always win, right? It's just an extra bonus if that's their love language, man. Like you gonna get even more benefits later on down the road.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not gonna go down that road right there. But here's the question. Here's the question. What's the difference between requests and demands? And this is, I guess, two questions. How can a couple, if they're at a spot now where they're just frustrated about the lack of something that their spouse is not doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they really feel like their love language is acts of service, what's the best way for them to communicate what they feel they would need from their spouse in order to feel love? Because here's the thing, even reading through this chapter, when the man was just like, I feel love when my wife washes the dishes and the kids are clean and the house is clean and stuff when I get home, that still kind of sound like, bro, do you really need that? Like, you
Right.
really just expect that from your wife? But if that's how he feels love, how can that be navigated in a way that is healthy, that doesn't sound like you're trying to demand your wife to do something? That's something that my brain is kind of like, how do you explain that to a man? Like, hey, you can't just walk up in there talking about, hey, woman, I need you to do this, this, and that because this book
Yeah.
said you need to serve me, right? What's a
Yeah.
healthy way to kind of communicate those requests or suggestions
Yeah.
versus demanding those things?
Yeah. I think, man, as I think about the reality of that transpiring in my marriage, it has never been beneficial for me in the moment to demand something from my wife. That's
Mhm.
never going to go well. But the moments that we have, my mom is FaceTiming me, y'all. The moments that we have, and she just messed up. You still
You
there?
still good on
Oh,
my
there.
end. Yeah, you still here.
I lost. I'm sorry.
She probably trying to FaceTime you, see if you go, if we went live today.
Yeah, let me cut this on.
Hey,
Do
y'all
not
live
disturb.
today?
Yeah, we live and should have been on do not disturb. I'm sorry, y'all. Anyways, the moments that have been beneficial have been the moments where we have set aside strategic time. And it's not just because I've got a bunch of requests that I need to make. It's because I have set and said, hey, intimacy with you, spending time and being intentional about business, things that we probably both have that we're trying to bring that we need to work through, having that strategic time to say, hey, look, like these are some things. So there's a acronym that we use. We hadn't used it in a while. Actually, we just did it recently. It was kind of broken, but it's called Thanos, not Thanos, like the, I guess, Avengers character, but
Yeah.
Thanos, F with an F. And the acronym, the F for Thanos is how are you feeling? The A is what can I affirm? What are some things that I've seen in you that I can affirm? The N is what do you need? And so that would be an opportunity to be like, okay, like there is a request that I have. And sometimes those needs change. So it's always like, hey, I know you needed this last week. What do you need this week? And there's an opportunity without it being high tension or me just responding out of the feelings of the things that I haven't had in that moment. But not just what do you need? The other side of that is the O is what can I own? So I hear you say what you need. Now, in hearing that, I'm going to tell you not that it may be that I can own everything that you're saying you need, or there might be a reality of you shared a lot of needs. And if I'm going to be realistic with you, I'm going to commit to something, but I probably can't do all of it. But here's what I can own and we can expect. And then after that, the S is how are you doing spiritually? But having that time for us to walk through that acronym actually gives us the space and the opportunity to share requests without it being a huge argument or debate or me going back sharing, hey, these are things that you hadn't done. and I just want to see you do this. No, like this is honestly like a moment where I'm sharing what I need, and then the other spouse is sharing what they can own from what they hear. I think those spaces have been always been the most beneficial. And that's not something that magically happened. That's something that we've had to like intentionally, strategically say, hey, on this night, we're going to walk through this. And as we walk through this, we're going to talk about the requests that we have. But without that, you're just hoping and wishing that, you know, you can make requests and they're answered. But if you don't have the space and the time, if you're not intentional enough to carve out that time, then it's probably not going to happen. And you're going to be frustrated. And there are going to be a lot of requests that you share, and you're not going to have a starting point to kind of go back to. Because I know a lot of couples who just kind of share requests in passing. And, you know, it's like, I just hope they heard me. But you don't know if they really heard you. And y'all aren't like having that dialogue of here's what I heard you say. This is what I can do. It's just the hope that I told them to do this. I just hope that they do it. So I feel like creating that space is really what's going to be most beneficial and practical for a lot of couples. Don't just expect it to happen. And then don't just be shooting out all kinds of requests, thinking that your spouse is catching all of them and can do all of them, because you're going to be frustrated. But I think for us, that's been the most beneficial. And yes, I think about like the first question that you asked, what's the difference between a request and a demand? I think demands happen in the moment and usually come from some, you know, escalated conversation. I think typically requests come through like thoughtfulness and space given. Like in order to make a request, I have to have the space to submit it. And so having space to submit requests is what I'm pretty much saying is probably going to be the most practical for a lot of marriages, or at least what's been practical for us.
Yeah, and I think one thing too is approaching those types of conversations with a sense of humility as well, right? Because even though you may not like that your husband or your wife feels more loved when you do something that you don't necessarily like doing, like the dishes or whatever, doesn't mean that you shouldn't do those things, right?
Yeah.
If my wife come to me and be like, I really like it when the grass is cut and when it doesn't grow. They even talk about that in the book, right? I don't like cutting grass. I really don't. And so one thing that I try to make sure is that the grass doesn't get a certain height, right?
Yeah.
And so pushing past I mean, we at the point now where God has blessed us enough for me to put that
call up
and
somebody.
get somebody else, be like, hey, can you come an extra week? You know, thank you, Lord. I hate doing grass. I've been doing this since I was 10, right? I don't want to do it no more, right?
Yeah.
And so but making those requests and just, you know, we talked about it. And when we talked about it, it was a long time ago. She explained why. It isn't just because I don't like the grass being tall. I don't like the grass being tall because that could attract snakes or that could attract, you know, certain things. And so I was like, okay, cool, I get it. Don't nobody want no snake just hanging out with them in the living room, right? Or in the back on the back porch. Right. And so we talked about it, right? It's not just her fussing or the grass too tall. I don't like it. I don't like how I feel on my ankles, right? It ain't just like a fuss. Like we had a communication, we had a conversation, and we talked about the reasons why I want this done. I get the grass cut and make sure it's low because it makes my wife feel safe, right?
Wow.
She's at home a lot by herself when I'm at work, right? That makes her feel safe. She don't want, you know, nothing slithering, hanging out with her while she's trying to just chill and relax at the house. And so we make sure that that's done, right? Just like stuff like that. And so if I were to approach that conversation, well, I don't like cutting grass, or you know, that's the extra, you know, $50 every month that we got to spend now because you don't want to see ain't no snakes around here. You know, I could have responded in that way, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
if my goal is to serve her and to make her feel loved and make her feel comfortable, then that's the thing. And my wife,
she commented,
she said she allergic to grass. Like she literally is. Like she went to the doctor. We was like, what? And she was like,
wow.
right, allergic to grass. Right?
Wow. I only know one other person. That's wild.
Yeah, but I would say like just in that, man, just communicating why even if you think it's the stupidest reason why they want stuff done, like you can't fault them for feeling that way. A lot of people got a lot of things that have just been formed in them because of the way that they were raised.
Yeah.
And it may be even healthy to talk about, you know what, man, that kind of seems like a unrealistic expectation. Let's talk about it. Let's communicate, why, and possibly adjust, depending on that. It's very dynamic, man. I just think it's all about conversations, talking, and understanding each other when it comes to certain types of things that make your spouse feel loved and how you can serve them. So
there's a huge piece of what you said that was like, in some ways, a revelation for me as you were talking. I guess that's something I passed. I think everybody, man. It's only a few people I know that see
pass that on quick.
As
I was sitting like a half a football field worth of grass,
man,
with a push plow more.
I live in Houston, so we ain't got much grass, so that's been a blessing. But it still sometimes find itself getting high. But the revelation that I had, man, as you were talking, is that I think we need to do more, a better job of listening than responding. And when we listen, we need to go off of what we hear, not how we feel. Because what you'll hear is your wife say, I feel safe. Like there's a level of safety that I feel when you cut the grass. Not only I feel safe because there's nothing dangerous in the grass, or I can see the danger, but also the grass itself is dangerous to me. And there's something there where it's like, I don't like it, but I want my wife to feel safe. And that's why I'm doing it. And I think it just changes that whole dynamic and piece, because it's like, well, yeah, the issue is not that it's not being cut. The issue is that there's a lack of safety that I feel when it's not cut. And so there's a greater reality than the problem that exists on like who gonna cut it. There's a greater reality there. And I can serve knowing that. I can serve from that place. I can't serve if it's just something that, or it's harder to serve if it's just something that you want me to do. But like when I hear you say safety is the thing, or you feel safe, like there's something deep there that I'm like, oh yeah, that's it.
I'll drop an extra $50 for them to come cut that grass every month.
What
if that's what it is? Got my sister on here all the way from California. Is this what it is? Yo, what up? She said she used to ride a mower for just fun. She never did that while she was in the house with us. I mean,
that's wild.
If you wanted to have fun, I would show her to let you do it. I'm just saying.
That's how you know you country right there.
And then it said, my sister said all ladies are allergic to grass.
That's hilarious, man. That's facts.
It's just part of it, right?
What's funny is my wife, she said multiple times, because I've told her, like, as we've gone back and forth about the things I do, the things that she do, she like, well, shoot, I used to mow the grass. You should let me go out there. I'm like, sweetie, you don't want to go out. I want to go out there. But like what she's saying is she realizes when I'm cutting the grass, which I think this is somewhat why I do it when I do it, it get me away from the kids for a little period of time. So it be chaotic in the house. I got that mower going. I can't hear nothing. Ain't no kids out there. They be trying to come out there while I'm mowing. I'm like, nah, I don't want y'all to get hit by no blade of grass or nothing like that. Y'all go inside. But it's my little respite, my little retreat. So
hey, she said she wants something too. Let me hop on the mower, man. Go ahead. You sit up here with the kids. Let me get away, please.
Right.
Man, it's so I think one thing too, I forgot what I was gonna say off of what
bring
you
it
said.
Back, Lord.
Bring it back, Lord.
Feeling safe.
One thing that I kind of giggled about when we look at this chapter is it talks about the nagging aspect of it, right? Yeah. We touched on this like a little bit, but like when you move into beyond requests and demands and continue to nag, like I think that's something we have to be careful with as well, right? Like if we come in here like, man, they'll go them clothes on the floor again. There go that bathroom look a mess up in there. I sure wish I had some drawers because I ain't had none clean in a week. You know what I'm saying? I wish somebody would do, that type of attitude And I think, like you said, man, it goes back to having those just straight up conversations, like being like for real, man. Like let's really talk about this and really just explain it. And like I said, man, my wife and I, we had a lot of conversation before we even got married about this type of stuff. And a lot of what we talked about when we were dating, it still just applies to what we are, how we just live life now. And like I said, things have adjusted with a kid and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure things adjusted with you guys, who does what. But man, I'm still fishing for what I was about to say, dude. This is gonna be good.
Keep going.
You said something. You were talking about
safety, talking about
safety. You was talking about something.
How you
listening
feel.
to
Don't
it.
go off of how you feel. Oh, come on, Lord, bring it back.
Yeah,
keep
don't go
fishing,
off what
bro.
you feel.
Yeah, keep fishing.
Come on.
Serving. The bait is it's out there. That's out there. We just needed to catch.
It's gone. It's gone. But here's the thing, man. Fellas, as we land the plane today, guys, I would just suggest just continuing to. The main thing is just having this conversation, right? And if I think in this book I think at the end of this we need to go through like the assessment, right? I don't know how that would look live, but we'll probably plan to go through that. But if you have it already, like I said, you can make sure that you get this book. You can just Google it. I can't find the link that we had, but going through this stuff and having those conversations with your wife about this type of information, I think is big, man. Big is really communicating, like you said, what you were saying about why, right? Listening to the why behind it. I'm getting close to
it's there. Back, right? It's there.
Why do you like this? Why do you feel this way? It may be tied into how they grew up. It may be tied into the safety. I know for me, I know one thing. I'm losing it. Dog, I ain't got it, man. The Lord might not want me to say it then.
I don't know, but I mean, I feel like where you were going is huge, because I think that reality of it being tied to something, and it could be upbringing, it could be trauma. It's like all of that is saying more than just I need you to do this for me. Is that, hey, this is how you care and love for me. Like there are things that I need from you that is more than just the task at hand. And as a husband, I think that it's a beautiful opportunity for us, not just to serve our wives, but as Christian men, to pastor our wives. And I think, not to say that like our wives are like, young believers who, need a lot of help in their discipleship journey. I just think that it's a great opportunity to be able to wash and to be able to disciple and say, hey, like this is something that I see. And I am also the priest of the home. I've been called to lead this family spiritually. And it's an opportunity for me to kind of see this thing and to speak to it and to care for you in this way. But it ain't gonna happen if you ain't got that space. So like, even if it was like just another practical thing, I don't think every date night should be work, but at least having some date nights where it's like, hey, look, let's talk. Let's talk about, some of the things that we're doing at the house. And, I need you to help me out a little bit more on why you have this value of me doing this one thing. Like, is it just doing it, or am I bringing order to the chaos, and it would make your life a little more orderly and a little less chaotic? And again, discipleship opportunity. What does God do in creation? He brings order to the chaos. And so it's an opportunity for me, through practical means, being hands and feet, to live out the theological thing of what God has done through creation. And I get an opportunity in helping wash the dishes or mow the yard, bring a little more order to the chaos. And that's going to bring peace into our home. And I was like, man, who don't want that? Who don't want a peaceful home?
You don't want it, man.
But
I think, like I said, man, I think it's all about just your perspective in it all. Like, you get the opportunity to serve your wife. You get the opportunity to serve your husband. You get the opportunity to do those things, man. And like I said, man, I think a lot of the issues are based off of our selfishness, man. So, man, as we get ready to leave, man, I got a little homework for y'all. Got a little homework for you. The homework. It says right here at the end of the chapter, it says to get a note card or get a piece of paper and write down 10 things that your spouse could do to make you feel loved, no matter how ridiculous they are, right? Let's write those things down and then discuss them, right? Look for the opportunity to really talk about that. And y'all be real. I would say don't be married to too much stuff, right? As far as like if you got your list and then like number 10 is just ridiculous, like you need to create space to be like, nah, baby, is that really realistic? Like, I ain't finna cut the grass every week. That's just ridiculous. Like the grass ain't that high. You gonna be okay, right? But being willing to have those conversations and just kind of just talk about it, right? What's the best way? Maybe even come up with like schedules for who does what or whatever. And then finding ways to serve it, man. I like for me personally, man, I like to surprise my wife with stuff that I do. Like I like for her to like go to sleep with the house dirty and then wake up and it's clean, right? Yeah. I ain't had the energy to do that in the last few months, but like I used to, right? But when I got the energy, then I just roll. And that's how it is. Like some Saturdays, I think like a couple Saturdays ago, I was like, hey, I'm not sure what we got planned for today. Do we have anything planned for today? And she was like, no. I said, I just really want to fold. Like I am personally tired of looking at these clothes. I want to fold them and I want to get them put away. I don't care if they mine, yours, hers. I don't care, right? Yeah. And she was like, man, go ahead and do your thing. Like I ain't gonna stop you, kind of idea, right? And so communicating those things, finding those opportunities to serve is important. So the homework is to write a list and of things that you personally think that will help you feel love, and then have those conversations about the best way that you can incorporate that in your life and not holding too tightly to those things, man. And really kind of moving forward. And then get the book, man. Just get the book. The book explains it all.
Find that link. So
I need to find that link, man. We need to find that link. You can come up with something else to talk about as we go.
Thank you, man. As we by men to men. Yeah, as we land the plane, we are grateful. We just want to help you as a man and whoever, but particularly to the men, we want to help you honor God in all facets of life, and this being one, and how you serve and love your spouse. And as we walk through this, acts of service, that is the opportunity that you have from this pod, is to serve your wife as Christ has served you. So important. Love y'all.
That's the benediction right there, right in time. Let's see. If y'all want this link right here, this or actually help the channel a little bit. If you guys purchase this link, we get a certain percentage of this book to help it to grow.
If you got it, buy it for somebody else. Buy two.
Yeah, if you got it, buy it for somebody else. It's says you can get a digital version for about $9. You can get a hard copy about $14. Paperback for about $10 right there. And we get a little piece of change for that, man. And so really excited about having the opportunity. But man, you got anything else?
It's been good, brother.
Yeah,
we back.
Say, y'all got offers. Hey, we might need to create a little cash app for the Men to Men podcast. If people want to give, they want to give. We ain't gonna stop people from giving. We ain't gonna stop the Lord from you being obedient, right? Yeah. We don't stop that. We need to do something, man. Start it. You said what?
I said there's a principle there. We wanna live into that principle.
Get a Patreon for the
yes, sir.
For the Saints, man. But yeah, man. Hey, this has been the Men to Men podcast again. I'd like to thank you for all of your interaction. Sis and Mo, they've been wilding out over here. I ain't been able to put all the stuff that they were talking about over here in this comments, man. But that's funny, dude. But y'all, thank you for tuning in to the Men to Men podcast. If you're watching this on the replay, we're probably going to try to have some type of video connected on YouTube that you can connect. Also, don't forget you can listen to the same podcast, this live stream that we have on Spotify and iTunes. And if you want a better quality version of this, We do have the replays that we're going to actually post on YouTube as well. Of course, you can go back and watch on Facebook in the group and all this stuff too. Other than that, man, again, we thank you for tuning into Men and Men Podcast, where it's all about helping men honor God in every single part of their lives. Y'all have a blessed weekend, and thank you again. Love y'all. Peace.